8 months later, and there's a new theory to explain why Luke has been so grumpy in The Last Jedi. We're going to break this new theory down coming up. Well, it's hard to believe, but 8 months later, we're still talking about The Last Jedi. It just goes to show how deeply hurt people were by this film, myself included. Specifically with Luke Skywalker's portrayal in this movie. So this is coming from express.co.uk, and I'll link it down below if you guys want to read it. And it says, Star Wars theory. Does this theory explain Luke's grumpiness after The Last Jedi backlash? The Last Jedi suffered from a lot of backlash, some of it based in fact, some of it based in bigotry. They gotta throw that in there. But this theory explains one of the things fans took particular exception with: Luke Skywalker's grumpiness. Star Wars fans are a fickle bunch. And I would say passionate bunch. I would say passionate. And the recent backlash to The Last Jedi has divided them. That is so true. While some fans took exception with story leaps made by Rian Johnson, others seemed perturbed by the characters' arcs of the women and women of color at the forefront of the stories. But one of the things many fans had a problem with was Luke Skywalker's character arc. His self-isolation and abandonment of the Jedi rifled some fans' feathers. But this theory seeks to explain, in a new way, what may assuage some of the ire. A fan theory, so we'll just start off with that. It's a fan theory posted by Lil Bran Muffin on Reddit seeks to explain away Luke's withdrawal, with others jumping in to clarify and rebuff it. Lil Bran Muffin, good name, wrote, "The reason Luke shut himself off from the Force is because he knew the same thing Snoke did. Darkness rises and light to meet it. This quote explains the logic that Luke followed, but in reverse. He knew the Jedi had to end because if he didn't shut himself off from the Force, the dark would keep going as well." I'll comment at the end. Luke took the drastic step of nearly killing Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren, aka his only nephew, aka his twin sister's only son, aka his best friend's only son, and pushing him further towards the dark side of the Force. After seeing that, no matter how well Luke trained the Jedi, there would always be darkness. It was after this Luke went into isolation, knowing there would always be darkness rising to meet the light, and even he wasn't immune to it. After all, he almost murdered his nephew. The logic, perhaps flawed, given the fact that Rey exists, assumes Luke's destruction of the Jedi means the Sith will cease to be. Of course, again, I'll comment at the end. Of course, as in reality and the Star Wars universe, unchecked greed and power will continue to rise, even when the light is no longer there to meet it. This theory that Luke's isolation was part of a grand plan and not his own curmudgeonness and self-loathing may soothe the ire of a particular section of fans. Others have seen it as a way of undoing what was a brilliant curveball in the Skywalker saga. In response to the theory, another Reddit user wrote, "You're supposed to be disappointed and grossed out that Luke is essentially a dirty, burnt-out hippie ducking his responsibilities. Luke's entire arc in The Last Jedi climaxes when he shows up to fight Kylo Ren and actually be the unstoppable Jedi badass Rey and all Star Wars fans had built him up to be." They go on to say Luke's behavior is 100% consistent with every Skywalker man we've seen so far, citing Anakin's evolution into Darth Vader as a key example. Given The Last Jedi's final moments saw Luke acting as the hero everyone wanted him to be, it remains curious fans are so upset by his temporary self-imposed isolation. How did this go over people's heads? Spirit of Choked Out asked. Whatever your feelings on Luke's trajectory, Star Wars Episode 9 will give fans another chance to come to terms with the end of the Skywalker saga. And that's the end of the article. And, it's a fan theory, so... But I guess it's picked up a good amount of steam here, on Reddit at least. And it doesn't really make sense that would be... That the reason Luke would shut himself off from the Force was because he was scared. Of course, again, he is a Jedi. He shouldn't fear... He did start a Jedi temple. This whole thing with Ben turning the dark side, this only happened in as far as the 30 years goes, more in the recent time, closer to where Force Awakens picks up, not so many years, I guess, earlier. We don't know exactly how long, but I don't think it doesn't seem like it's that far in the past. So for him to shut himself off because he's afraid that the dark would rise... If he shuts himself off, the dark, he already knows Snoke's out there, so the dark's already risen. So if he shuts himself off, what does he think? That Snoke's just going to die off? The dark side of the Force will just go away? Of course not. He would be the only thing keeping the light side balanced, I guess you could say. If he shut himself off, knowing Snoke's already out there, then that's you're killing the light side of the Force. You're just letting darkness reign. It's not going to destroy the dark just because you shut yourself off to the light. And of course, it didn't. It raised up Rey, I guess, is, we don't really know the full story yet. Hopefully episode 9 clarifies all the confusion after Last Jedi as to, still, who is Rey? Is it the Force just really chose her, or is there something more at work? I guess we'll find out in episode 9, I hope. Of course, there's a lot of theories out there, but I'm not going to get into that right now. It just doesn't seem... And Luke's a Jedi. He's a Jedi. They keep going back to this, or some people keep going back to this explanation that, Luke is just following with the typical Skywalker man. It's in their blood, DNA. They're angry. They lean to the dark side. But again, I have to point out the fact that everything changed. Luke's character arc, the culmination of all the original trilogy, was when he took the lightsaber, threw it away, and said, "I'm not going to kill my father. You're not turning me to the dark side. I'm a Jedi like him. I'm not falling down the same path." That was what changed his whole character, his whole arc. Now to revert back and say "Oh no, he's it's just the typical Skywalker guy going evil, just like his father." That was the whole point of that last scene in Return of the Jedi. I'm not like my father. I'm throwing the lightsaber away. You're not turning me. So it's just a poor explanation to say that, he's falling in with the Skywalker bloodline to go evil, Kylo Ren, I guess, is sort of doing that. But just the theory doesn't hold much water to me. Saying that Luke turned himself off to the light side because he was afraid that the dark side was coming to rise, and if he shut himself off, that would shut the dark side off. That's crazy. He already knew the dark side was out there. So, if he was the only being with the Force and he shut himself off, maybe, as I still think it's, doesn't fit the character of Luke, but maybe I could accept it as a theory. But, knowing that he wasn't, that he knew there was dark out there, that Ben, his own nephew, was, had leanings to the dark side to some degree, that just, it doesn't make sense that he would think that would be the solution, to shut himself off and then that'll shut the dark side off. It's like you're shutting yourself off and giving up and letting dark side reign, and that's not the character of Luke. So that's my opinion on this theory. I'd like to know what you guys think. Comment in the comments down below there, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook as well, so you can find me there. And until next time, lock the door and hope they don't have blasters.